Deep in the jungles of Central America, hidden beneath layers of vines and silence, lies the remains of one of the most advanced civilizations the ancient world had ever seen, the Maya. They built massive stone cities without metal tools. They mapped the stars with astonishing accuracy. They created a calendar more precise than the one we use today. They understood mathematics, including the concept of zero. Centuries before Europe, they constructed pyramids aligned with celestial events. They tracked the movements of Venus, the sun, and the moon with scientific precision. This was not a primitive society. This was a civilization of astronomers, engineers, and scholars. At their peak, millions of people lived across vast cities, connected by roads, trade networks, and political alliances. And then, they vanished. Not slowly, not gradually, but abruptly. Entire cities were abandoned. Temples left unfinished, homes left empty. No signs of invasion, no clear evidence of mass death. Just silence. What could cause a civilization this advanced to disappear? To understand the disappearance, we must first understand how powerful the Maya really were. Between 250 and 900 CE, the Maya entered what historians call the Classic Period. Cities like Tikal, Palenque, and Copan rose from the jungle. Towering pyramids dominated the skyline. Stone monuments recorded the reigns of kings. Complex writing systems documented history, astronomy, and rituals. Their knowledge of the heavens was extraordinary. They could predict solar eclipses. They tracked planetary cycles. They built observatories that aligned perfectly with equinoxes. Their calendar system combined multiple cycles of time into a structure so accurate it rivaled modern calculations. They were not isolated tribes. They were a network of city-states, each with its own ruler, its own identity, and its own alliances. Trade routes carried jade, obsidian, cacao, and textiles across hundreds of miles. This was a thriving, complex world. And then, within a span of roughly 150 years, the southern lowland cities were abandoned. Monuments stopped being carved. Construction ceased. The population declined. It was as if the heart of the civilization stopped beating. Historians have proposed several explanations for the collapse. The first is drought. Climate studies suggest that the Maya region experienced severe, prolonged droughts. Without reliable rainfall, agriculture would fail. Food shortages would spread. Cities dependent on stored water would struggle to survive. But drought alone does not explain everything. Some cities with access to water were still abandoned. The second explanation is warfare. Evidence shows that conflicts between city-states increased toward the end of the Classic Period. Fortifications were built. Mass graves have been found. Monuments depict captured rulers. War could destabilize trade, destroy crops, and weaken political systems. But even war does not fully explain the widespread abandonment. The third explanation is environmental exhaustion. Deforestation, soil depletion, and overpopulation may have pushed the ecosystem beyond its limits. Yet the Maya had survived for centuries using sophisticated farming techniques. Why would their system suddenly fail? Each theory answers part of the puzzle, but none answers it completely. The mysteries that remain, and there are questions that still have no answers. Why were so many cities abandoned at the same time? Why were some northern cities, like Chichén Itzá, still active while the southern cities fell silent? Why did the writing system largely disappear after the collapse? And perhaps the most unsettling question, where did the people go? There is no evidence of a massive migration, no records of a single catastrophic event. It was not a sudden extinction. Maya descendants still exist today, but the great urban civilization was never rebuilt on the same scale. It was as if the knowledge that sustained it was lost. Some researchers suggest that political legitimacy collapsed. The Maya kings claimed divine authority. They were seen as intermediaries between humans and the gods. If droughts continued and rituals failed to bring rain, the people may have lost faith in their rulers. A spiritual collapse, leading to a political collapse. Others suggest that trade networks failed, cutting off essential resources like obsidian. Without trade, cities could not function, but even these ideas do not fully explain the scale of abandonment. The final theory. A civilization that transformed. Perhaps the Maya did not disappear. Perhaps they changed. Rather than a sudden collapse, it may have been a transformation. Large cities were abandoned, but smaller communities survived. Power shifted from divine kings to local leaders. The great monuments stopped being built, but the people remained. Knowledge was preserved in new forms. Culture adapted. This was not the end of the Maya. It was the end of a specific political system. But there is still one final mystery. Why did the knowledge of writing, astronomy, and monumental architecture decline so dramatically? Why did the system that sustained their golden age never return? Was it climate? War? Spiritual crisis? Economic collapse? Or a combination of all of them? The jungles covered their cities. Time erased their monuments. And for centuries, the world forgot they had ever existed, until explorers rediscovered the ruins, hidden beneath the trees. Today, the descendants of the Maya still live across Central America. Their language, their traditions, and their identities survive. But the great cities remain silent. Stone pyramids rising from the jungle, asking a question we still cannot fully answer. What happened to the Maya? And if a civilization so advanced could transform so completely, what does that say about our own world?